The NFL is back. Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. The NFL season for the 2024 season is going to be starting up in a couple of days. And this is the toughest week of the NFL season, or really for any sport, to predict who's going to win the first game of the year, because we don't know how these teams are going to look. A lot of moves were made. A lot of roster spots have been changed with players going to different teams, and the spreads are reflective of that. There isn't one team that is favored by more than 6 points during week 1 of the NFL season, and as the season goes along, those spreads will spread out. There will be teams favored by north of 10 points in certain games, but week 1 is going to be tough, but I'm going to do the best I can to predict who I believe is going to end up winning every single one of these week 1 NFL games, so let's get into it. And to start off on Thursday Night Football, we have a banger of a game with the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously, Baltimore fans are still salty for what happened to them in the NFL playoffs last year when they fell short to the Kansas City Chiefs. In Kansas City, they ended up winning the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in the Patrick Mahomes era. So they're going to want to go out there and do it yet again. And it's on their own field. But Kansas City has dropped games before early in the season, even on their own field. So they are vulnerable to that. And Baltimore was a very good team on the road last year. But still, I do think I have to back the Super Bowl champions here. I think that they're going to go out there on their own field and play a pretty solid game. Might be a little bit of rust. They have made a few roster moves, but they still have a really solid team overall. They're favored by 3 points. I think that Kansas City is going to end up knocking off Baltimore 24-21 on Thursday Night Football. And then we have on Friday on Peacock. So don't know how many people are going to be able to watch this game, but it's going to be in Brazil between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia is favored. And Green Bay, they're a team that a lot of people are high on this year after what Jordan Love did last year for the Packers in his first season as the starting quarterback. They knocked off the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card last year, completely humiliated the Cowboys. And Philadelphia had a great start to the season last year, but then faded down the stretch. They fell apart toward the end of the year and then had an early exit in the NFL playoffs. I think Philadelphia, even though they've had some struggles recently, I think they're going to start out their season very well. It's really tough because of the fact that it is a neutral site game. You don't know how both teams are going to play in a different country, but I will go with the Eagles to knock off the Packers 27-24 in what should be a highly competitive game. And then to start off the Sunday matchups, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons, two teams that a lot of people are intrigued about for 2024. Pittsburgh has 2 new quarterbacks in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson should be the starter in week 1. And then you have Atlanta. They got Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr., but it should be Kirk Cousins starting out for week 1 for the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta's favored by 3.5, and it's on their own field. It's always a tough place to play in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not one of the toughest environments in the NFL, but still a very solid one. Pittsburgh usually does better on their own field, and they have a lot of offensive issues right now that I don't know if Russell Wilson will immediately be able to fix. I'm going to go with the Falcons to knock off the Steelers 21-14. Then we have the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills, and this is one of those games where a team is favored by a pretty hefty amount for week 1. Buffalo's favored by 6. Kyler Murray, a lot of people are wondering, can he get back to his earlier form in the NFL? Even if he can, the Cardinals don't have a great football team right now. They're going to have to do a lot of roster moves to improve that team. Buffalo, they have disappointed the past few years in the playoff, but Josh Allen, still a good quarterback. The Bills are still a better team overall, and it's on their own field. I think the Bills will easily knock off the Cardinals 27-14. Then we got the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears at 1 o'clock on Fox. In Tennessee, they have made a lot of roster moves to try to help their team become better, but they have lost Derrick Henry. They completely wasted the entire Derrick Henry tenure at the Tennessee Titans, which is very unfortunate. And Chicago's got new life with Caleb Williams now at quarterback. A lot of people are high on Caleb Williams, thinking that he's going to be able to make the Bears offense more dynamic than Justin Fields, and they have built a solid roster on offense around the quarterback. So Chicago could be better in 2024. The Bears are favored by 3.5. I do believe at the end of the day, because it's at home and the Titans have too many question marks, that the Bears, to start off the Caleb Williams era the right way, will win 24-17. Then we have the New England Patriots and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Patriots are a far cry from what they were when they had Tom Brady at quarterback and Bill Belichick at head coach. They are nowhere near as good. They got a new coach, and they've got Drake May as a rookie quarterback that a lot of people feel he should be starting for this game, but nope, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, a guy that has gone to a ton of different NFL teams and has not really had much success for the most part. So I don't really think he's going to be able to do much with the Patriots either because they got a lot of roster problems. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow has struggled to stay healthy the last few years, but he's still a really solid quarterback. They have a superior team. Even though Jamar Chase is questionable for this game, I think he will play. And even if he doesn't, I still think the Bengals are going to easily knock off the Patriots 27-13. Then you got the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. This is a sneaky, solid matchup at 1 o'clock on CBS. The Texans have C.J. Stroud. They completely turned around their team in year one of the C.J. Stroud era. They were awful for the past few years in the NFL, but they looked really good this past season, made the NFL playoffs. The Colts lost Anthony Richardson after the first couple games of the season. He's back. Anthony Richardson is a very talented quarterback, but he's very flawed still. He's going to have to do a lot of improving to be able to become a great quarterback in the NFL. Houston's favored by 2.5 on the road. I think that the Texans will end up knocking off Indianapolis 28-20. Then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins. Another great matchup at 1 o'clock on CBS. The Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence. The Dolphins have Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua has a plethora of options to pass the ball to on offense. They got a dynamic running game. Sometimes their defense isn't that good, but if they can have that offense clicking and Tua doesn't throw stupid passes, which he can sometimes do, then Miami's a very dangerous team. Trevor Lawrence has not been staying healthy the past few years, and Jacksonville's offense, while good, still needs to improve in a few areas, and their defense needs to get a little bit better as well. The game's at Miami. The Dolphins are favored by 3.5. I do think that Miami will pull out a 27-21 win over the Jaguars. Then we have the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints in an NFC South matchup. People are a little bit higher on the Panthers. Nobody's expecting them to make the playoffs, but people think they might be able to win 5 or 6 games this year instead of only being able to win 2 like they did last year. And the Saints, they're not a great offensive team. They have a lot of issues on that side of the ball. Their defense is still solid, and they have a really good home environment. But New Orleans did not do very well on their own field last year. Lost a lot of home games. I think the Panthers are going to show improvement, and Bryce Young is going to be able to look more confident out there with some better weapons on offense. But I still think there's going to be growing pains for the Panthers, and they're going to drop this game 24-17 to the New Orleans Saints. And then the final 1 o'clock matchup on Sunday, we got the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Giants. People are low on Daniel Jones. They said he did not have a good fall camp. He did not do very well in practices, and I do believe that Daniel Jones is not going to really be able to improve that much as a quarterback anymore in his NFL career. He has been injured a lot, and even though he does show flashes, the team just cannot become good enough around him to be able to have a lot of success. Minnesota, they got J.J. McCarthy, a rookie, which a lot of people are wondering whether he will be able to have success right out of the gate in the NFL since they no longer have Kirk Cousins. I think that the Vikings overall, especially because they have Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best receivers in the NFL, the Vikings are going to be able to knock off the Giants 24-17. And then we got the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now you've got Jim Harbaugh at the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he's a little banged up. People are wondering if he will be able to play, but he should be able to play in week 1. The Raiders are improving a little bit now that they don't have Josh McDaniels anymore. They're still not that good, but they have gotten a little bit better. But I do think that Jim Harbaugh is going to inject life into the Chargers. They're going to become a better team than they were under the Brandon Staley era when they were not able to win close games. And sometimes they were even blown out a lot, including to the Raiders last year. I think the Chargers are going to get the Raiders back, and they're going to knock them off 24-17 in week 1. Then you got the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle's a tough place to play. Pete Carroll's no longer the coach, but you still got Geno Smith. You still have a lot of talented players on offense. Their defense is decent enough. Denver, even though they do have Sean Payton, they have Bo Nix now as a rookie quarterback. They do have a possible bright future, but it's going to take a lot of roster moves and correct decisions to be able to turn around the massive mistakes that Denver has made the past 10 years as an organization since Peyton Manning retired. I do think Denver will keep it close, but Seattle's going to end up knocking off Denver 24-14. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. This game's getting hyped for a variety of reasons. This is going to be the first game that Tom Brady is going to commentate for Fox. And plus, Dallas, can they go on the road and knock off the Browns? Nobody's high on Dallas. Cleveland is Deshaun Watson. I think he's a solid quarterback, but Cleveland's had a lot of turmoil at the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson needs to stay healthy. He keeps getting injured. Obviously, had the allegations in the past. But when you look at Joe Flacco, how he helped the Browns make the playoffs, that was kind of a fluke. Still impressive. But now that Deshaun Watson's back, can the offense be solid? Dak Prescott can't turn the ball over. And Dallas's defense needs to do better than the amount of money that they're paying those defensive guys. I think Dallas will squeak out a 24-21 win over the Browns, but I'm definitely not confident in it. Then you have the Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Bucs are a team that actually surprised a little bit last year. Baker Mayfield did a good job as the first season as the starting quarterback of the Bucs. People are now higher on Baker than they've been in a few years since he was at the Browns. Washington, they have a pretty bright future with Jaden Daniels at quarterback, but there will be some growing pains. They have to be able to protect him, something that they did not do for Sam Howell. I think that the Commanders are going to fall short 24-17 to the Bucs. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions. The rematch between Matthew Stafford and the Lions yet again. This should be a really highly anticipated matchup. Detroit is favored in this game. The Rams, it's very tough for them to be able to go up to Detroit and win, especially with that added pressure of Matthew Stafford being the former Detroit Lions quarterback. Detroit is going to do everything they can to win, and I do believe that Dan Campbell is one of the most fiery coaches in the NFL. Sometimes he makes bad decisions with play calling, but that's just because he's a very aggressive coach, and I think that in this game, it's going to turn out very well for them. Jared Goff is a very solid quarterback, and they have a lot of weapons. I think they're going to try to do even better this season. I think the Lions are going to knock off the Matthew Stafford-led Rams 27-21. And then on Monday Night Football, we got the New York Jets and the San Francisco 49ers. The Jets are getting another primetime matchup. And unfortunately for the Jets last year, Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the first game of the season. Hopefully this year that does not happen. Hopefully he can stay healthy. The 49ers were favored by as much as 6 points when the line first opened, but now they're barely favored by 3. I think that the 49ers have lost a few key players that is really dampering people's expectations for the team this year. Plus the devastating defeat that they suffered to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year still has to be haunting them to this day. I think that the Niners have to shake that off, and Brock Purdy's got to go out there and show that he's not a system quarterback. He's got to be able to improve in certain areas. He's a good quarterback. He's got a lot of weapons, though, but he has to play good game in and game out. If Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, I think the Jets might have a solid year, but I still think they're going to fall short to the 49ers on the road in Week 1, 31-17. But those are my preview and predictions for every single Week 1 game of the NFL. There's a lot of great matchups that we have to look forward to in Week 1 of the NFL season. It's great that the NFL is back, and there's a lot of question marks for many teams in the NFL as we start this season with a lot of roster moves, coaching changes, new quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about my picks for every single Week 1 game, which games that you agree with me on and which games that you disagree with me on, that you think the other team is going to be able to win, and which games you're looking forward to the most. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.